Okay, Papa. Oh, how can I co-host Ivory? Where's Ivory? Yes. Ask Ivory to send me a request.
Mama.
Not you, baby.
Mom,
Yes.
my iPad has charger on it.
It has what, baby?
It
has charger. Tell me how much time it says, baby. Like the percent, baby? Tell me how much it says.
It says 45.
Where is Ivory? Can someone ask? Oh, she's restarting her life. Okay. Okay, y'all. So, what did y'all think of that?
Okay,
here, baby, I can give you this iPad now.
Okay.
Because I don't need this one, okay?
Okay.
But lay down. I don't want you to drop this. Okay? Go lay down on the carpet or on the bed so that you don't break that iPad. Hold on, y'all. I gotta figure this out. Oh, Ivory's waiting. Okay. I got some stuff in the works. I'm not saying nothing on the internet, okay? I got some stuff in the works.
What happened?
You know, with what she did today, I can't say what my attorney said, but just know.
Oh,
Just,
interesting.
she won't see it. I think what she keeps, the problem is she keeps disassociating herself from
Right.
the unaliving, so she keeps forgetting she's like an actual unaliver. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not clicking in her head.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's playing like and she pled guilty. She wasn't found guilty. She pled guilty.
She pled guilty. She had to admit that she did it. I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, so that pleading guilty versus being found guilty is two different things. And when you plead guilty,
You're
like
admitting to crime.
she's just writing a check she can't cash. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I love when people do that.
And I'm here for it because there was a lot of things I was kind of waiting on her to do, so it could be a slam dunk.
Thank you, Valerie. Yeah, that's wild. That was, can I tell you, that was so boring.
I'm telling you, that's why I was happy I was doing my nails, because I was like, what would I can't fall asleep another episode. Like I was literally sitting on my bed the last one and was fighting my sleep. Like two fat people were sitting on my eyelids.
I was trying so hard to stay awake, and there was nothing I could even make fun of.
No, the show gives nothing, and I'm still trying to understand like what is Lifetime's purpose? Like what I don't, because it's.
Isn't it funny that she's doing to Ken this season what she did to Ryan last season? She's making the men look bad.
Well, that's what she's good at, you know. She's good at that. Like that's what she's good at, and that's part of that Demona character.
Yep. Yeah.
Could you imagine at your big age still playing a Disney character?
No.
Like that's like insanity. Like to me, that's insanity that you still play a Disney character at your big age.
She's never going to change. And so when I sit there and I do videos about who she is today, that's the whole point of that. Not because I'm sitting there making fun of who she is today. It's just to show that she is the same person today that she was when she murdered her mother.
Yes, that's the point. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't care what all of them say. What happened to Nicholas GODEJOHN is a complete miscarriage of justice, and
yes.
an injustice to one of us is an injustice to all of us. And if nobody stands up, especially because she's been trying to silence him, and why would she be trying to silence him if there wasn't if it wasn't something to it.
Yes. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and at the end of the day, this is so outrageous, especially considering like the media hasn't done any research, because this
No,
Foia,
and they
they
caused her
look at the
celebrity
Foia.
status.
I feel
They
like it's
caused the
so.
thing.
I just don't get like why no one. I know you have to pay for the Foia, right? And I get that, but ooh, you know what? Hold on, let me get my stand.
Yeah.
What, baby? Okay.
I was wondering how she got that perfect lighting.
Oh, you want lollipop? No, you can't have another one right now.
Donna, yeah. Absolutely.
You need what?
Christy was telling the chat to watch Melissa Moore next week. Let me tell you about Melissa Moore. She is the state gypsy. She is
You need what?
nothing but becoming famous off the fact that her father murdered a bunch of women. She lies about her story. Her story is not true. She's added, she exaggerates, she does all of the things. Women died because of her father, and she's making herself famous off of their story. Wild. Wild. So, of course, Christy, Gypsy, and Melissa Moore are besties. Like, of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
Are they really besties? No, I
No,
think that
they
that's
use each other. They use each
yes.
other for the...
For now. That's it, just for now. Are they really besties? No. And anyone that believes that is delusional about what's really happening.
Yep.
Hold on, y'all. I'm putting my stand up.
She always has to make the man look bad. Absolutely. For use, right? Validity. For use, not friendship.
Here, Gio.
Yeah, she's putting the baby out there to. Let me tell you something. When you say something that's true, people come hard. They come hard for the truth because they don't want people putting the truth out there. They don't want out there what they don't want people to know. So you know when you're speaking the truth when they come back when you say it. That's how you know. We all remember the whole Christy and Rod broke up and Rod left the house and went to stay with Mia and went to a hotel. You guys remember that? Do you remember how hard they came to debunk that? Or to sit there and try and change the narrative? Why? Because it was true. They go hard for the truth. And so that's why they're going so hard for this. Yeah. Tonight, Christy had the baby more than Jip, of course. Jip has
And she used it to kind of like keep people on the live stream. Like that was if that doesn't show you like exactly what she's about, I don't know what will.
Yeah, you got to think. She started off with what, 15,000 people in that live? And then dropped down to 7 the last I saw. So thank you, Candace.
Well, people really didn't want to watch her, right? Like first of all, her show is boring. She's boring to watch. If she was a better person to watch, I think the show would do so much better. Like even with her being a train wreck, I think it would do better. But the thing is, she's just because she doesn't know who she is.
She's not genuine. People watch reality TV because they want to see the genuine in it. They want to see that you are just like me. You know what I mean? We have normal lives. It's the normalcy people are looking for. People watch reality TV to see that everybody looks and does just what I do. That I'm just as normal as everybody else. Let's be real, that's why we watch it. You know, we sit there, we want to look at these homes of these people. We want to know that they've got messy houses and they got crap going on. And you know what I mean? They wake up looking like crap like the rest of us. And they have the same life that we do. It's a relatable thing. We want to relate to people. And so, we want to know that they're genuine. They're just like us. She doesn't give that. Gypsy does not give genuine. Nothing about Gypsy is genuine. Everything about Gypsy is fake. And so you can't watch her reality show and relate to it. Because it's nothing but her talking crap about the men. There's nothing relatable.
And why does she put so much emphasis on Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's odd. Like when you think about that, that's odd. Like why is there so much emphasis on her and Ryan? Like him texting her, and because it's not like it has any substance. Like, oh, he texted me this, he texted me that. It's to shame him.
Yep.
And the fact that even Lifetime allows that is kind of like weird.
I feel like Lifetime may be trying to keep Ryan in it though, just for context, or
something's odd about that,
man. There's nothing. If you take Ryan out of that whole scenario, you're just watching Ken and Gypsy fight. You're
Literally.
just watching them fight. You know what I mean? So let's be real. The whole Ryan texted was brought up because you were caught out there with a text from Ken, not because he's just messaging you out of the blue for no reason. Like, come on, man. The commercials are longer than the show, Megan. Yes.
Yes, which was weird. But that's to tell you that you know why their commercials are longer than the show, because they get paid for the commercials.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's to kind of compensate for the loss that they're taking. Because remember, it wasn't like that last season.
Right. And you know, I feel like the whole argument between Gypsy and Ken about the baby stuff, I agree with Ken. He's being a mature adult. He made sense.
Well,
Why
financially, it makes sense. Yeah.
spend an extra $2,000 on a crib when we don't need it just because you can?
Especially the first couple of months. Like, I didn't get a crib for Gio until I moved into my house, because at the time we were at the my apartment. So I didn't get a crib for him because I knew he was going to be in the bassinet.
That's, yeah, I didn't put my cribs up or get a crib until I needed to.
So he was about 4 months. No, I'm lying to you. Gio was about 8 months before, because he was like, he was sleeping in a playpen at first because he wasn't sleeping that much. And I kind of had to prop him up because he had those issues with stuff coming up, the milk and stuff. Yeah, and Lonnie did too, because at one point she was sleeping in a swing because she had to sit up because she would throw up out of her nose if she wasn't propped up. So I would let her sleep in the swing so that she was sitting up. So Lonnie had a crib when she was born just because, but with him, I didn't do it until he was like 8 months or so.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither.
Yes, the reflex.
Watching them interact with each other and how it's playing out on these episodes. Hold on. I love how Ken treats her. That's karma. He's so dismissive. So I feel like that goes along with the whole, of course they broke up for a little bit of time. Look at them. They couldn't even get along. She was going at him hard.
Well, I think she uses that to convince him to stay with her, to not look bad, because it's like she tries to use the public to bully people. Hey, Becca.
You can see that their relationship is not great, and that them having broken up totally makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious at this point, but let her tell the story. She's proven me wrong. How did she prove me wrong in that episode? Please tell me. Enlighten me.
They did nothing but argue the entire episode.
If anything, she proved me right.
Yeah, that episode was nothing but them arguing and looking like they were not getting along. The initial, when it started, and they were sitting there to lunch or dinner or whatever, they looked like it was just so awkward. They were not comfortable with each other, and they had nothing to talk about. It was just weird. They both just looked completely awkward, and she was over in her live talking about how it's just because Ken is nervous in front of cameras. No, come on. No.
No, his body language, I mean, says it all. Like, I don't understand that. Like,
Yep.
girl, if he shows that in everything, even on their lives, he showed that with his body language.
Yeah, Mercy, they were split up. I completely agree. That's what it looks like. My home.
I think at that time they weren't. I think they were on the verge, because that is before she did that live about her and Ryan. Remember, the time that they split up was the time that she did that, "You'd be crazy not to take me back."
Yes, yep, I remember
That was the trigger for that, right? So this is before that. Because this is when her and Mia took that video together, that OOTD video.
Uh-huh.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That's when that happened.
Okay. So yeah, they were on the verge of it at this point, because look at them. Thank you, Becca. Thank you, thank you. You can just see that it just, him decorating the house, her having no interest. It's just wild.
Even him calling it his house. He didn't say our house.
Nope, he kept calling it his house.
Yeah. So he knows he's telling her what
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
he's just saying what he thinks, he should be saying on the show, but he's still slipping up and saying stuff. And I partially feel like Lifetime's keeping that in there just to.
Yep. And the whole comment about this is your room, this is your bathroom. I wish my husband would give me a bathroom and a room all to myself.
Girl, they would never.
And then tried to give her the small one, and she was all upset.
Look,
like
I want to say this one time before we go into like some of this FOIA stuff. Y'all could put pigs in here. You could put derogatory terms. You guys have put the N-word in here multiple times. I don't care what you call me or what you have to say about me because you don't define who I am. So if you want to waste your time sitting up here talking about me or saying whatever you want, my mods are literally taking these comments down. And yes, I'm a Black person. Okay.
No, are you really?
Like, seriously, because it's like, come on now, you, Bree, we know it's you and your people, and you continue to say you're not racist, but you are a racist, and just admit that and keep it moving.
Yeah, it's
like, come on now.
Yeah, what they do.
Talking about, I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. Girl, you are. Go sit down. But let's get into this FOIA.
All right, what part were we talking about?
Okay, before we're gonna say this every day on here. Every day. Every time we talk about this FOIA, we're going to talk about the fact that I want you to read that part about Gypsy admitting every day. That's going to be in the beginning of us talking about the FOIA.
Let me see if I have that in here. I think I printed it out today.
Girl, I was like, this is a good time to do my nails because Gypsy's thing is boring as hell. And I have to stay up to pay attention.
Man, I sat here. I printed it out. How bad is that?
That's hilarious.
It's just so much.
But it is so much in that FOIA. Like that's the thing. I wish that the media would pull the FOIA because that FOIA is damning. And it proves that everything Gypsy has said has been a lie.
Yeah, I didn't print out that section.
Now, we got to be very careful about our words because they're going to flag it. So, unalive, X, right? Like, we know that's what they...
Hold on one second. Let me pull it up because I thought I printed that part out, but I didn't. Does anybody remember what page that was on?
Ooh, that I don't remember.
I'm going to print it out while we're on here just so I have it because... But it was the part where...
It's the court documents, some of it that wasn't brought into court, but the stuff that she admitted to and the stuff that she said. So there's a lot of like proof and facts in here that like, and when I say damning, I honestly didn't think the FOIA was going to provide any information that we didn't already know. And I will say this, I was very shocked to see a lot of the stuff that we thought we knew. But honestly, we really didn't even get a grasp of the whole story about what really took place because the media put a spin on it. And basically, the courts let her do it.
Yeah.
So, reading this FOIA, it makes everything make sense. Does that make sense? The FOIA makes everything make sense. Where before, things were like, well, why did this happen? Like, for example, remember when Gypsy didn't have a ticket to go back with Nick? And a lot of times we kept saying like, well, why did they not have a ticket for Gypsy? She mailed the unaliving weapon to Wisconsin, right? But she mailed the unaliving weapon to Wisconsin and was trying to get a hold of Dan. Dan would not meet up with her. And so she went back to Wisconsin with Nick. That is why in the interrogation, he said, I would apologize to everyone but Dan.
Yep.
So when she mailed that unaliving weapon, she originally did not anticipate going to Wisconsin with Nicholas. And she figured if she mailed it to his house, they would say, oh, it's definitely him, and she would never get time. Because here's the reality. I will say this again. If what she's saying is true about the abuse, why is Nick not a hero?
That's what I'm
Why is he
saying.
not a hero? Because
How
he
do
didn't
they?
take blame for the whole thing. And she wanted him to take the blame for the whole thing. She did not want him, she did not want to get any time at all. And she wanted him to take the blame for the entire situation. And because he didn't take blame for the entire situation, he's a villain.
All right, you ready for it?
Yes.
All right, hold on. I need to put another light on here because I had the thing on, but I can't even see it.
And Nick might not be able to fight for himself because he's been manipulated and they're still using people to get to him and manipulate him. But
Yep.
guess what? There's people here on the outside that are not going to let him rot in prison without getting his story out there and getting him some sort of justice. So she can villainize him all she wants, but there's a team of people working very diligent on the front streets and the back streets to get him justice. So no matter what she does, no matter what Bree does, we are going to get him justice. And at the end of the day, the truth will prevail. Period.
Yep.
So you could do whatever you want to me, just like they put my PO box address on YouTube, all over a YouTube live this morning. They did all of that. I don't care. Anyone could show up at my PO box. That's fine. Yeah. And then that's why she posted that they can do whatever they want to do. But guess what? I am going to make sure that he gets justice by any means necessary. And in order for him to get justice, people need to see Gypsy for who she is.
Yep.
There's no way Nick could get justice without people seeing her for who she is.
Who she
Period.
is.
So if you would stop getting all in our face or trying to shove yourself down our throat, let us do our work and get him some justice.
The harder you
Because
come,
you
the
said
harder
you wanted him to get justice in your video last year. This time you said Nick deserves justice. Now you're saying he's a POS. But you're saying this man saved your life allegedly. Which one is it? Is he a hero or not?
Right. What is the story? The story changes to fit whatever narrative she's putting out there. Why all of a sudden is he a piece of shit?
Right.
Why all of a sudden is he not white? That makes no
Like he
sense.
might not have anyone fighting for him, but we're out here fighting for him, and there's nothing that they're going to be able to do to stop it.
Yeah.
And I don't care how you post about me, what you want to say about me. You can put me on your page every day, Gypsy. I'm still going to make sure Nick gets justice.
How bad is that, though? That's so funny. That's so funny that she's doing videos of you.
Yeah, all she's doing is exposing herself, bringing more people to my page.
Your page to see the truth. That's what I'm saying.
That's all she's doing. Like, she's not very smart at all. She's not it's like she has no strategy. Like, if she really did have a strategy, that is not how she would handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right, ready? Hold on. I need to. Further in a video dated May 26, 2014, Gypsy shows Nicholas how she can stand and walk. She explains that when she was 6 years old, she went into the hospital and that during surgery, the doctor said she had a seizure and was paralyzed. They didn't know if it was only temporary. She started getting feeling and tingling in her legs. She was young and kept it to herself. She kept it from her mom because she was afraid that her mom would stop loving her. So she kept it to herself until 2011, when she rebelled and ran away from home. Now, mind you, 2011, she wasn't diagnosed with a microdeletion until 2012. So she was actually had a seizure and had something wrong with her legs and needed that wheelchair, but she purposely did not tell Dee Dee because she liked the attention from Dee Dee and wanted her to love her. And she purposely didn't tell anybody else because she liked the attention. But again, the microdeletion wasn't diagnosed until 2012, and so she couldn't have used that as a blueprint to make this story of the seizure and the paralyzation up. And yes, you can have a seizure, be paralyzed, and it goes away, which is obviously what happened, but she never told anybody.
Now, what I do want you to elaborate on, because I was having trouble with this yesterday. So I know if I was having trouble with this, you all may have had trouble with this. So I want to bring some clarity because Ivory does have a background in nursing. So she's also worked in kids' psych units. So the fact that she has had that experience, she has more of a background because I could not fathom that yesterday.
Yep.
So I was saying to her, in terms of a 6-year-old, how are they capable? Like, I didn't believe that a 6-year-old would be capable of lying like that and hiding something to, because my kids would never do that. I would never do it, so I couldn't understand that, right? So Ivory explained this to me last night, and she shed some light, and I think it's very important for her to explain this to you all so that you can really understand that these aren't your average kids. They're like this.
Yeah. So I worked in psych for a little bit, and we did have to work in the children's unit. It was mandatory for a shift. I didn't work in it long for the simple fact that what I saw was too much for me. I remember two patients, two children. And these two children stick out to me because of how serious it was. One was about 6, and she was there because her grandmother woke up one day and she had a jabber to her grandmother's throat. And so I'm in there and I'm getting a report, and they're, the nurse that's going home, and I'm coming on and they're telling me about this girl, and I'm like, there's no way. Like a 6-year-old, a 5 or 6-year-old tried to unalive her grandmother. And in my head, I was like, there's just no way that this poor little kid. And I go in there and she's acting like a kid and she's playing with her toys and she's playing with the other kids and they're doing the kid thing. I sit down and I talk with her, and this girl she changed right in front of me. When I asked her and she answered me, she was not a 6-year-old child anymore. She was different. It was wild. Look, I'm getting chills just talking about it. She sat there and was like, yeah, I want my grandmother dead, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to slice it open, and I'm going to watch it all run down her body, and that's what I'm going to do. And that was it. Like, she had no, like, oh, it's my grandmother, I'm not going to hurt her. She had no, like, she went from playing with her toys and playing with her friends and being a 6-year-old to answering me just like that, and I was like, it really bothered me. But, and I was talking to other nurses who are more seasoned insight, and it's like you have to understand that brains don't work like that of a normal 6-year-old.
Thank you.
What I mean? They just don't. And so when we go back to Claude having S.A. Gypsy, remember in the documentary, Claude said that Gypsy was touching him. I believe that. And I believe that because I know from experiences now that children, when there's something wrong with them, do not think the same way regular children do. And so everybody kept coming at me talking about, oh, but she was conditioned to do that. She was taught that by somebody. No, she has an issue and her brain thinks a certain way. And so no, she didn't necessarily learn that because it happened to her.
Yeah, because how did that little girl learn about
it's just the thickness in their head that makes their brain think differently. So that's why I was so adamant on believing that Gypsy absolutely could have gone up to Claude and made advances in him, okay? And not because she was a victim, but because she was just sick. And then that goes and coincides with the same thing, the little truth that Gypsy drops every once in a while. I wasn't allowed to play with Barbie dolls. Well, I believe that. Because when you take a child who's so hypersexual and ill like this, what is she doing with those Barbie dolls? She's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, she's not acting with those Barbie dolls like a normal child is. I'm sure she's making those Barbie dolls do things extremely inappropriate.
And Dee Dee knew that, right? And Dee Dee knew that.
And I believe that Dee Dee didn't let her play with Barbie dolls when she was little because she was playing inappropriate. And that goes right into the same idea that I also believe that she made advances to Claude because she's sick and her mind does not now. However, you can sit there and see her doing normal everyday things like a 6-year-old, like a 20-year-old, whatever. When it gets down to the nitty-gritty, her mind is not the same. And so, you know what I mean? She's not just a child. She's a sick child, and her brain does not work like that of everybody else. And when you don't, because we don't think like that, it's so hard for us to fathom that someone can think like that. Right?
That's why she was into the role playing.
Especially for kids. We have a heart for kids. None of us want to believe that kids, little children could do anything bad. Everything's always a product of any kind of abuse, but there are just bad kids There are some people just born with it. Some are conditioned to it because of environment, but people can just be born like that. And I personally believe that her psychological issues is directly from the microdeletion, and her hypersexuality is because of the psychological disorder that I believe she has.
Well, it tracks with her chromosome disorder.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's not even anyone saying that, oh, no, it tracks. That chromosome disorder comes with behavioral issues. Like, that's one of the biggest things in the list of that chromosome disorder is behavioral issues. So I think that tracks. That's not even really an assumption. That tracks with her diagnosis.
It absolutely does. And so I need, when people look at Gypsy, they need to understand she is a person whose brain does not work like ours. Everyone wants to sit there and give excuses for behavior. There's a reason for it. Sometimes there's just not. And again, if you look at the situation the first time around, she is absolutely going down the same road again.
Yeah, this is the same story. It's just
she picked up to unalive her mother so she can be with Dan, whom she fixated on, who she became obsessed with. Again, part of that same sexual hypersexuality and psychological disorder.
Because who would come up with a 3-ring binder to prove their age? There's plenty of fish in the sea. Why was she so obsessed with him to prove that she was of age?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Dan, at the point, didn't even want to be with her, and she still did it to be with him. Called him afterwards and everything. And then
him even saying I have a girlfriend and everything else. Gypsy didn't care. She wanted what she wanted. She knew she wanted him, and she wasn't going to stop at no, which is why she really anticipated running away with him.
Yeah. And now she did the same thing, except Ryan is Nick and Ken is Dan. You know what I mean? Who is the person? What happens when Ken doesn't want to be with her anymore?
Okay, I'll plug it in.
Who is the person she hurts to make sure she has access to Ken? I don't know. Who is going to be the obstacle in her way to get to Ken or to keep Ken? Could it be the baby? Could it be Christy? I don't know. But it's obvious that they're not the best together. It's obvious they're miserable. It's obvious that this is not going to last very long. And then what happens when she needs to have Ken? Because she fixates, she obsesses, right? Even with Ryan, all she could ever talk about was Ken.
Yeah, or someone else wanting her.
Mm-hmm. Who is the obstacle that's going to get in her way? And my concern right now is that baby is in memory with Ken. And that baby is the reason why she doesn't have constant access to Ken. Well, that baby then becomes an obstacle, keeping Ken away from Gypsy. That is a concern. This one. That is extremely concerning.
Yep. All right, so let's go further into this Foia.
All right, what part do we want to go about?
Just go in order, I guess. We could just go in order.
You want to just start from the top and just read it?
After what we read yesterday. So after, just go like next, like whatever's next.
So a part of me wanted to bring up the videos.
Okay.
The description of the videos.
Oh, yeah. Just be mindful with how you talk about it.
How I say it. Well, yeah, that would be the issue.
But no, you could still do it. Just be mindful.
Let me just see what page that's on. I just feel like we're already on the hypersexuality and the manipulation.
Yes.
All right. Trying to find. All right. So this is. I'm just trying to see how long this is. All right, this is Gypsy's entire statement. We're ready? Does anybody else hear that background? Is there like a... You have a fan going, Lena?
No, let me mute myself because I have my
All right, we're going to go and start with Gypsy's deposition. Defense counsel deposed co-defendant Gypsy Blanchard on November 1st, 2018, just before trial, and called her as a defense witness to testify that she planned the unaliving. However, counsel was otherwise wholly ineffective in eliciting, through Gypsy, other readily available and admissible evidence to support their theory of defense and to counter the state's theory of defense. Over the course of their almost 3-year relationship, Gypsy sent Nicholas close to 100 videos, which the state provided to trial counsel in discovery. On cross-examination, the state asked if Nicholas introduced her to the idea of role play with her alter egos, and Gypsy replied yes, stating that Nick was the one who introduced it to her. Gypsy further testified that as part of the role play, Nick was the master and she was the slave. The state went on to suggest, through their cross-examination, that on a lot of those videos, Nicholas would send her a script to instruct her on what to do in the videos. Gypsy claimed to do things in the videos that she didn't always want to do, but did them because Nicholas told her to do them. She further admitted to engaging in great fantasies with Nicholas, but claimed to not be crazy about the idea and that she was simply indulging him. Though counsel had available videos which suggested otherwise, counsel failed to establish that the testimony was false. Only a very small portion of the videos appear to be scripted by Nicholas. The grand majority are of Gypsy's own creation. Some of the sensually explicit videos are formatted to look like a real movie, with credits at the end. There are many in which she has intimacy with herself, using her fingers or objects, including a toothbrush, where she appears to be very much enjoying herself and not engaging in activity simply to indulge Nick. There are also videos in which she is a dominant character who talks about ways she will grape Nick. On a 13-minute and 52-second video dated September 27th, 2013, Gypsy is role-playing in her Demona persona. She explains that she is a slut with an evil streak. She can torture. She can do anything except a few things. She can't, and this is the manipulation, guys, she can't physically harm Gypsy's mother or Nick because those two people are off limits. Besides the two things she can't do, she describes what she can do. She can steal, she can torture, she can unalive, she likes to drink and be sensually naughty. She talks at great length about how skilled she is at stealing from stores. She goes on to say she overwhelms Nick sometimes and can grape him by force. She talks in detail about the ways she can do that, by tying him to a chair or a bed. She explains that she will be able to get money in the future by going to a bar and agreeing to have relations with a man for money, but instead she would drug him or hit him over the head with a bottle and steal his wallet. She advised Nick that they have to play it smart and be very careful what they do as a team because it takes skill to not get caught. She closes by saying that they will be very, very good at being bad together. Another 10-minute video dated May 26, 2014 contains 2 videos. In the second video, she appears as Demona wearing a long red wig and lingerie. Again, this is the girl who was so locked away. You mean to tell me lingerie? Like Dee Dee didn't know she had lingerie. She walked around her house in lingerie. She tells Nicholas that things have changed. She is his dominant and he is her slave. She says she doesn't enjoy punishing him, but it has to be done. She describes how she will reward him with intimacy, but if he displeases her, she has ways of punishing men. If he fails to do as she asks, she, Demona, will take away Nicholas's time with Gypsy. She threatens to punish Nicholas by refusing to allow Gypsy to talk to him for a week. She will command him to perform sensual acts on her, and he'll have to do it or she will be displeased. She praises him for being a good slave so far and continues to encourage him to do a good job. Am I frozen? No? Okay. In yet another video dated May 27th, 2013, there is no indication of any script. Gypsy is wearing a long blonde wig and uses an object and her fingers to have relations with herself for almost 12 minutes. She is very animated and screams loudly, F my P, F it, F me, master harder. There are many other examples of non-scripted videos in which Gypsy displays this behavior. Exactly. Where was Dee Dee? Hundreds of videos were sent. Where was Dee Dee when she was making hundreds of videos? All right, let me continue this because I'm getting a little... In another video compilation that runs just over 19 minutes as in dated January 24th, 2014, she tells Nicholas that she dreams about him and though other men hit on her, she only wants him. She explains that he is perfect to her, and when Nicholas looks at her, it is like he sees every thought in her head and sees her emotions. They are soulmates, just like she is today with Ken, and perfect for each other, just like she states today she is with Ken. She has intimate relations with herself in both videos, using a toothbrush in one. In an 8-minute video dated August 11th, 2014, Damona addresses Nicholas as her slave and informs him there are new rules and that her punishment of him will be extreme. She will cause him pain by making him strip and graping him with a strap on so hard that he will scream to stop. She will be meaner and meaner until he submits to her. She says
so she has experience with that.
Just saying, yeah.
So you know she got Ken every which way but loose.
She will be meaner and meaner until he submits to her. She says she is a bee and he should not dare cross her. At the end, she touches herself and tells Nicholas that is all he will get for now. Because trial counsel failed to investigate and present this evidence, the jury never heard or saw this information, which would have countered the state's theory. So, again, the jury only saw the one version. Trial counsel also had available through discovery Facebook messages between Gypsy and Nicholas from Gypsy's Damona Love Slave account. In these messages on October 26, 2014, she role-plays as Damona and orders Nicholas's character Victor to get rid of his Facebook account for her right now. She tells him that someone messaged Gypsy's mom about this Facebook account and that the walls are closing in. That was October 26, 2014. She's being caught out there on social media, acting the way she's acting, and that was less than a year before Dee Dee was unalived, and her statement was that the walls are closing in. She's getting caught out there. On direct examination, counsel asked Gypsy how many boyfriends she had prior to Nicholas, and Gypsy replied, none. Had counsel investigated information readily available to them, counsel would have known that that was not true. In addition to evidence to the contrary available through witness Dan Glidewell, Gypsy wrote on August 10, 2014, through her Damona Love Slave account as follows. Yes, my master, it was 2010 and 2011. I had just surfaced inside Gypsy when I started playing games with guys. I used Gypsy's fingers to make the text and take the pics. The men asked me to send them nudes, so I took my top off and took the pics and sent them. I had fun teasing them, saying I'd have relations with them, but I never went through with my words. I never went through with my words only. The text and pics I sent them to 4 guys, but Gypsy's mom found out and threatened the men that if they ever came close to me again, she'd put them in jail because Gypsy is underage. And they were like 35 to 50. I was stupid, master. I was testing my limits of my sensuality. I was getting male attention like I wanted. I told you I was untamed before I met you. Then you tamed me, and I've been loyal to you ever since. In addition, The state adduced evidence that Nicholas threatened to unalive himself. June 2nd, 2015, again, less than a week before the unaliving of Dee Dee took place. Trial counsel failed to present evidence that Gypsy made threats to unalive herself multiple times as early as May 2013. This would have suggested to the jury that Nicholas was not the manipulator, as the state argued, but the manipulator who mimicked what he learned from Gypsy online. Instead, the jury never heard or saw this information. In her testimony, Gypsy claimed that it wasn't until she was 19 years old that she started to piece together that she was actually not sick. She further testified that she did not understand the extent of how healthy she was until after her arrest. Counsel failed to elicit evidence readily available that was contrary to this assertion and that would further defense counsel's theory of the case that Nicholas was particularly vulnerable to her manipulation because of his autism. Specifically, evidence was available to counsel that when Gypsy left Missouri for Wisconsin, she took only pain medications with her. No other prescription medications. Further, in a video dated May 26, 2014, Gypsy shows Nicholas how she can stand and walk. And then I just went through this part where she says when she was 6. Further, counsel failed to establish that Gypsy suggested Nicholas did not need to wear gloves at the time of the unaliving.
Okay, I think we read this part yesterday.
Yes,
So let's skip this part a little bit.
all right. We read Dan yesterday too, right?
Yes, we read up to, yes, we read.
Allie, right? It was Allie we didn't. I didn't read Allie, did I?
Did you read? No, you didn't read. I don't believe you read Allie, but I do believe you read the mom. Yes,
Okay.
you left off with the mom.
All right. Allie Noble was identified at trial as a person Nicholas communicated with via Facebook. Hold on, I just want to make sure. Allie Noble was identified at trial as a person Nicholas communicated with via Facebook. Messages between her and Nicholas were introduced and published to the jury. Counsel was ineffective for failing to investigate and call Allie Noble to testify at trial. Had Miss Noble been called, she would have testified regarding conversations, including conversations on social media with Nicholas and Gypsy. Counsel's failure to investigate and call Allie Noble as a witness trial resulted in prejudice of Mr. GODEJOHN. Counsel was ineffective for failing to cross-examine and to investigate and present the above evidence and witness to the jury at trial to support a theory of defense and contradict the state's theory. Nicholas was prejudiced in that the jury did not hear this evidence, and it allowed the state to argue in closing, unrebutted, that Gypsy did not manipulate Nicholas into unaliving her mother. Further, the state was able to argue to the jury, without any contrary evidence being presented by the defense, that Gypsy was the submissive partner of the relationship, and that Nicholas was the dominant one who was in charge. And that Nicholas's motivation to commit the crime was based on a desire to have Gypsy as a slave. There was reasonable likelihood that had counsel presented this evidence and testimony from the above witness, that the outcome of the trial would have been different, in that Mr. GODEJOHN would not have been convicted of unaliving in first degree and armed criminal action and sentenced to life without parole and 25 years. Counsel's ineffectiveness resulted in prejudice to Nicholas GODEJOHN. Nicholas GODEJOHN was denied effective assistance of counsel, a fair trial, due process, and was subjected to cruel and unusual punishment in violation of his rights under the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Sections 10 of the Missouri Constitution, in that his trial counsel unreasonably and prejudicially failed to make a timely objection to the state's pretrial mental health evaluation of Mr. GODEJOHN. Counsel failed to exercise the customary skill and diligence that a reasonably competent attorney would have exercised under similar circumstances. Mr. GODEJOHN was prejudiced as a result, in that the counsel had not been effective. In December 2015, counsel retained a clinical psychologist, Dr. Kent Franks, to evaluate Mr. GODEJOHN for competency. Dr. Franks found Mr. GODEJOHN competent to stand trial and provided trial counsel with a report to that effect, and also diagnosed Mr. GODEJOHN with autism level 2, requiring substantial support with accompanying intellectual impairment. Dr. Frank's report was provided to trial counsel on September 28th, Trial counsel informed the court that the defense in this case would not be NGRI, but to diminished capacity. On October 11th, the prosecutor filed a discovery motion pursuant for Dr. Frank's raw data and actual test results, purportedly to determine if the state needed its own mental exam or just an expert to advise or talk about Dr. Frank's findings. At hearing on the motion, trial counsel offers to delay the trial if the state needs time to depose Dr. Franks or have their own expert. At a hearing, trial counsel stated to the court, and if Mr. Patterson needs time to do this, to do his own evaluation, that's just the way it's going to have to be. I mean, I'm not going to object to him asking for time to do that. He's entitled to do that if that's what he wants to do. On December 20th, 2016, the state filed a discovery motion pursuant to Rule 25.06, which asked for the court to order that the defendant submit to an examination by a psychologist or psychiatrist of the state's choosing and at its expense. At that point, defense counsel did not object to the state obtaining a mental exam, stating, "I think it's pretty clear they are entitled to it under case law." At a pretrial conference, the case had been transferred to Judge Jones, who asked about Judge Holden's previous order allowing the state to obtain a second mental exam when there was no claim of incompetency. The prosecutor stated that because the defense was pursuing a defense of diminished capacity, and Judge Holden had allowed Dr. Franks to testify, the state was then entitled to reciprocal discovery to do its own mental examination. Defense counsel agreed with the state and did not dispute this assertion. At a pretrial conference, the trial court noted that it had read both experts' reports and clarified that the defense was only presenting a diminished capacity defense. The trial court asked about the state obtaining a second mental exam, noting that there was a case out of the East District which said that the state is not entitled to a mental exam. The state argued that an Eastern District opinion would not govern in the Southern District and that Dr. Denny should be allowed to testify. The state also argued that Dr. Denny was a rebuttal witness, so he would be allowed to testify on that basis as well. The defense noted that this was not an issue in the fall of 2016, and the state sought to have a second mental exam, but now it was an issue, and it would have to be addressed if the state decided to put Dr. Denny on the stand. Trial counsel also stated that the case law was clear, that the state was entitled to do a second mental evaluation, and that this is the only reason why they consented. During a motion on the first day of trial, the defense moved that Dr. Denny be excluded from testifying. The motion was based on the Carruthers opinion from the Eastern District, which specifically prohibited the state from obtaining a 552 examination when the defense was diminished capacity. The prosecutor responded that it had requested the mental exam under Discovery Rule 25 for good cause shown, which was still an option under the Carruthers case, and the defense had not objected at that time. The prosecutor noted that the defense also did not object to Dr. Denny's endorsement. Defense counsel argued that Carruthers' opinion had not been issued yet, but after that held that the state was not allowed to conduct a mental exam, they moved to exclude Dr. Denny's testimony. The defense asked the court to exclude it, despite the fact that the state's exam had already been conducted, the same as was done in Carruthers. At trial, Dr. Denny was called as a rebuttal witness and was allowed to testify to the jury in regard to his opinions about Nicholas GODEJOHN, which were formed after his evaluation of him. After consenting to a mental evaluation of Mr. GODEJOHN by the state's expert on several occasions, prior to the actual examination taking place, and belatedly moving to exclude Dr. Denny's testimony on the first day of trial, counsel included that the court's denial of the request to exclude Dr. Denny's testimony at trial in the motion for new trial, arguing at the same time that the state was not entitled to a mental health examination of Mr. GODEJOHN. Trial counsel was ineffective for failing to timely object to the state's motion for a mental health evaluation of Mr. GODEJOHN under Mississippi Supreme Court rule. In its motion for discovery pursuant to Supreme Court rule, whatever, for the proposition that since the defendant raised the defense of diminished mental capacity, the state had the burden of proving that the defendant did not suffer from a mental disease or defect, negating his state of mind, and thus the state's request that defendant be examined by a psychologist or psychiatrist, which consistent with the rules of criminal discovery's broad purpose of full and free discovery. Trial counsel did not oppose the state's motion and consented to the evaluation erroneously, stating that it was clear under case law that the state was entitled to such an evaluation of Mr. GODEJOHN.
So This is something that I think is very interesting. When you think about this, this is all stuff that Dan Patterson knew,
Oh, I'll be right back.
right? So when he sat in that courtroom and pinned it on Nicholas, remember the closing statement was Dan Patterson saying that he was the manipulator and all of that. That was during the time that he knew all of this information because this information was all there in the courts. But regardless of him knowing that, he decided that he was going to make a man that was collecting a permanent disability check with autism, a low IQ, and other mental health issues the villain, and to let the monster out. I think that is something that's very important to note. Because that right there shows you guys that Dan Patterson knew the entire time. This is not information that he wasn't privy to. This is not information that didn't come out. This was not his attorney not getting this information out. This was just flat out a miscarriage of justice. And Dan Patterson is just as corrupt as everybody else in this situation. So this situation is going to be something that it needs, I don't know. I don't know, but it's definitely, it's corrupt going all the way up, and which is why Gypsy feels so liberated to do the stuff that she does. But at the same time, she is getting nervous because the Foia also exposes Missouri. So guess what? Missouri's going to want to make moves because if she is the reason why they are getting put out there, now that's an issue.
Yep.
Because this is showing the corruption even within Dan Patterson. And I hope he is not ever reelected after this. Because if this is what's happening in Nick's case, right? How many other people has he done this to blatantly? Because
Exactly.
blatantly, this is court records of blatantly undermining the justice system, his civil rights. So how many other people's civil rights did they breach? How many other people did they decide to make the villain just to help somebody else? And it kind of makes you wonder, what did Mike Stanfield really have? You know what I'm saying? Like there had to be something that he had, because Gypsy didn't have money like that.
Yeah.
The public defender. So what did he know? Like, okay, we can make this into a show down the line. I'm gonna make money. Like, what was it? Because he's her manager allegedly. So what was the reason? You see what I'm saying? There has to be.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, they all perjured themselves. Hold on one second.
They really did. I don't know if he has a brother, but the amount of evidence that was left out of this of Nick's trial, the amount of perjury that judge allowed to happen, and that the state allowed to happen, knowing very well that they had evidence to the contrary of everything she was stating. Just get up there and lie, Gypsy, whatever. They needed her to lie because if she didn't lie, then she would be questioned about why they would be questioned about why she got the plea deal. So they needed to let her lie to make sure that narrative continued. And I will say that all the way, you know what I mean? That's not, I believe that 100%.
Ivory, I have something.
I'll get the phone call after this live, aren't I?
I'm actually just about to show it. I'm going to text it to you first.
How prepared do I need to be for this? Just be prepared? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Actually, Pam, can you send this to Ivory and I'll just put it on the backdrop while she's reading it? Ooh, this is juicy, child. Ah! Okay, so. Oh, wait. This is the wrong part first. Okay. I wouldn't be concerned about Nina and rumors. I'd be more concerned about those FOIA documents coming out. Okay, that's what she says. Now she says, we all know the case was effed up situation. I will never deny that. But haven't you heard that is so 10 years ago? People grow, change, and learn from their bad choices. Having your mom unalived is not just a bad choice.
Bad choice. Not even that. It was so 10 years ago.
I low-key want to cover this up to keep this on here so people can see this.
Nicholas is in prison for the rest of his life.
And she's saying, but remember, she said
Because he supposedly saved your ass, Gypsy. It was so 10 years ago.
And
Your
remember,
abuse
she
was
said
so
he was
10 years
POS.
ago.
And she said he was a POS.
First of all, the fact that this man is sitting in prison for the rest of his life is one thing. Second of all, he should be your fucking hero. Not Ken, not Brian, not anybody else, Gypsy. That man. Because if everything you're saying is fucking true, that man should be your hero. You should be the first one in line to help that man out like he did to you. He paid the ultimate price for helping you, for doing what he believed was to help you. And you're going to sit there with your cocky ass acting like, honey, you have a fucking body count, dude. You're a murderer. 100%. You could sit there and try and act like I'm a mommy, Christy loves me, all of the things, and daddy got his second chance. Like, dude, you're a murderer. You took your own mother's life, and you're going to live every day wondering if your kid doesn't have the same disease. That's going to make her do that to you. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And then you're going to sit there and push this narrative. But he supposedly saved you, I thought. I thought all of this was to save you. So 10 years ago, you're still the slut. You're still the dominant. You're still the one controlling everybody, dude. It wasn't so 10 years ago. That's the whole point of this all. You are still Damona. You are still that same person, Gypsy. You are still her. That's what we're trying to show everybody. You haven't changed. You didn't grow up. You're still making the bad choices. The same bad choices you made before you murdered the last person. So where are these bad choices going to lead to? I'm just saying. There's that.
The fact that she said that.
It was 17 years ago.
She's saying it's messed up. So is she going to admit that that's what she said? That she lied to her mom from the time she whenever
she's pretty much
she
admitting
came
that
back?
everything
She's
that
admitting
was
that this is true. This is her
true.
statement. Mm-hmm.
And so if everything we're saying is true, then Gypsy, it's obvious your story is fake.
The whole story.
You are actually getting to the point where you're spiraling and you're actually admitting that we
Yeah,
are
I saw
correct.
the video.
You are literally, these videos that you're putting up at random, these comments that you're making, is just proving our point. Just saying.
Well, this just provided more. So if it's a messed up situation, why is he a POS, Gypsy? Because I know you're in here watching.
I know.
Why is he a POS? Why is he not the hero?
Because
If
we
you want
all,
to run with this story, you need to say that he's the hero. You need to stop villainizing him. Huh, Gypsy? Why villainize him? The same way you tried to villainize Ryan. Why villainize him? If you're saying that this Foia, you know it's an effed up situation and you change, ruining someone's life and having that man serve life in prison without the possibility of parole is not a fucking mistake.
I hope Ken is watching.
That is
hope
not a
so.
mistake. That is
That is-
not a mistake that that man is sitting in prison for the rest of his life, and you are saying that he made a mistake and everybody should move the hell on when you're out here living your life and you ruined that man's life knowing he wanted to unalive himself before this happened because he could not even face the fact that he had to do it for you. And you're going to say, people change. You are a piece of shit.
My whole, first of all,
The audacity. The audacity. Could you imagine saying people change? I'm living my life. Let
That right there.
You
You
are
should
a
have gotten
menace
strapped
to
to a chair.
society. You are a menace to society. You do not deserve. You don't deserve anything.
You don't deserve
Anything.
to be alive. You should have been strapped to a
You
chair.
villainized him. You want to say people change, but you just said he was a POS. You just said that. So you have not changed. You have not changed.
You are still the same manipulator.
I will
You
never
are still the
respect
same
you. I will never,
predator.
ever, nothing you could ever say will ever make me respect you. And I'm going to make sure he gets justice if it's the last thing I do. I want you to understand that if this is the last thing I do, he will get justice. This will not go on. You will not have another night of rest until that man gets justice. So you better get with the program or you're going to have a problem because he will get justice. On my watch, that man will never not have a day where I'm fighting for him to get justice. You will not live in peace.
There is a reason why it's 10 years later and we're all still talking about it because we ain't letting it go.
I'm not letting it go. I'm not letting it go. He will get justice. If that is the last thing I do when I'm on this earth, that man will get justice. You lied about this whole story. You manipulated about this whole story. That man is sitting in prison for life because you fucked him over. And you're going to say people change? You are still the same damn demon you were 10 years ago. When your mom was sick and you had that man jab her. You don't tell anyone that your mom was very sickly when you had her unalive. You don't have the media saying that. You have the media spinning the story to make you, oh, poor Gypsy. You are a piece of work. You do not deserve our respect. You do not deserve our sympathy or our empathy. Nicholas deserves it. Your mother deserves it. But you do not deserve it.
Nor do you deserve us letting this go.
I will never let it go. He will get justice. So you better hurry. If you want to live in peace, let's make sure that man gets justice. Do you think I would waste a whole year on going and going and going and going? Do you think that I'm going to let it go? It's been a year, Gypsy. It's been a year, and I'm going to make sure he gets justice. Because for you to use a disabled man collecting a permanent disability check that had trauma, real trauma, his entire life, for you to come in and traumatize that man and have that man's life freaking ruined because you lied and then demonize him. You are evil and you deserve every bad thing that comes to you.
He absolutely does deserve that and more.
Could you imagine you thinking you're helping someone and the same person that you feel like you're saving their life, they demonize you, they lie on you, they chastise you, they beat you down, and then try to not even let you tell your story. They try to manipulate him. They have used people to manipulate him, knowing that he cannot get his story out. Like, do you understand? Like, and then she's trying to give me a violation. Do you understand like how bad this is? And you guys go follow my backup page because if she tries to get me off this and I have to appeal it, my backup page is Flawless Dino with the extra A. I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting it go. And me and a whole slew of other creators are not letting this go. We are not.
No. Nope.
I stand 10 toes down on that. He will get justice. He will get justice. And I don't care how long it takes. You will not have a day of rest. And them eyes will keep shifting in your head and running wild because you will not have a day of rest. That eye will be so lazy because he will get justice.
You know what I think is funny? Is that she's literally been nonstop admitting that we are right.
But this message pissed me off. This pissed me off. She said, it was 10 years ago, people changed. You literally have this man sitting in there for life with a disability that wanted to unalive himself. And you're saying people change and we're supposed to accept that? Who do you think you are? We don't owe you that. We don't owe you a damn thing. are. You like the way she villainizes him. It's not. If she would have got out and never mentioned him, it would be okay. I would have looked at it maybe a little bit different. But you get out and you villainize him when really, if your story is true, he would be the hero. That man said he was fighting and he said, I want to run away. Let's run away, Gypsy. Let's do everything. Let's do this, Gypsy. And she said, you have to do it.
To the point.
He wanted to unalive himself.
She stopped talking to him for a week to show that she would go away if he didn't do it. And he got so emotionally hurt and didn't know what to do that he tried. He wanted to unalive himself. Think about that. He got to the point where he didn't want to do it. He knew it was wrong. But he still wanted to save her. He was internally fighting these demons by himself to the point where he wanted to end his own life just because he wanted to help you, Gypsy, but he didn't want to have to take somebody else's life. And you coming here in these comments and making these videos just shows that what we are saying is 100% truth. You know it. We know it. And it's not going to go away until you admit that everything you're sitting there saying is bullshit. Bullshit. You're never going to be pretty. Nobody's watching you because you got a good bod, baby. People wanted to know you because you were easy. Dan liked you because you were easy, not because he was in love with you or he cared about you. You had a great personality or a great body. You were easy for him.
And he knew what you could do with a toothbrush.
Let's be real. The same thing with Ryan. You were easy. You were in prison. He knew he was going to get you because, I mean, what were your options? And the same thing with Ken. Ken ain't with you because you're this amazing, beautiful person. Ken is not with you because you have so much life experience and he loves to talk to you and have discussions and go through life with you.
We need to come right back because they're flagging it. Let's come right back. Let me know when Ivory's back, y'all. This girl is draining. This girl is draining. She's that mad that she's trying to take the live down.
They always come hard at the truth. I've said that from the beginning. I've said that to you all so much. You know when you're telling the truth, when they come at you that hard. Because they don't want you to put the truth out there. They're afraid that people are going to believe us. Because it's the truth. And they don't want that truth out there. So, again, this is just proof that everything that's being said is true. She is still a predator. Okay? She has a child now. A little girl. This is the woman, the predator, who sat there and offered her firstborn daughter to Nick so he can rape it.
Don't say it. Grape, 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 grape.
That is who you are, Gypsy. You're not some cute mommy influencer. You're not some cute...
That baby was even pushing away from you because she know what's up.
You are an unaliver. You are psychologically ill, which is why you have no connection with that baby. It was obvious. We saw it.
That baby was trying to get away from her. Both of my kids were laying down on my chest and would stay there and wouldn't move. They wouldn't move their head. My son or my daughter would not even flinch their head if they were laying on me. That baby was trying to get away from her. The same way Ken asked trying to get away from you.
Ken ain't with you because he loves you. Ken's with you because you have money and he gets to walk you around on a dog leash.
And not even real money. Like, man, listen, you have to have some real money, like, for me to be faking like that on TV. Not in some 100
people and look where they're from and look who they are. You don't have to have money for them to think it's money. I'm just saying, you got a man who don't work, who DoorDashes for a living. I mean, caught yourself a winner there. But then again, he caught himself a winner because, well, what's on her resume? Oh, unaliving, manipulating, acting like a hoe. That's what's on her resume. So, I mean, I guess maybe at the end of the day, these two are perfectly fit for each other. I'm just saying. She is doing this because Gypsy is spiraling. Her family's spiraling. They know what we're saying is true. Should Gypsy have a baby? No.
No.
She absolutely should not.
And anyone that thinks it's cute,
responsible for another life and in control of another life when she is still acting the same she did back then. Still making horrible decisions. Still making horrible choices. One, she murdered someone, y'all. Obviously, she
And
was
not
having
even someone, her mother. She came out that lady's cooter.
that right there shows you that there is no respect for that mother-child bond with her. That bond is the reverse of her and Aurora.
Yeah, that baby was trying to get free in her arms. That baby was trying to get free.
She does not have respect for that mother-child bond. So why would you think that she would be a good mother? Because she cries these fake alligator tears on her reality show? Because y'all are watching a made-up TV show? Because they were out there on these lives like freaking trash, telling you what you want to hear? You were all judging the fact that she could be a good mother because of that? The same woman who pushed this narrative about abuse that didn't happen, the same woman who pushed the narrative that she had to unalive her mother and needed Nick to do it so she could be saved because she's the ultimate survivor, the same woman who sat there and manipulated a man who was obviously...
He was collecting a disability check for a permanent disability check for 7 years at that time. 7 years.
Now, she may not go back in prison, although I do see her reoffending because, again, she's still her. She hasn't changed, okay? However, she may not go to prison, but I will never let you forget what you did to Dee Dee, what you did to Nick. So you just sit out there, but I can assure you, I've got a much bigger mouth, and people are going to hear me. And they're already starting, look at these comments. They're already coming at you, Gypsy. And here you are just telling the world everything we're saying is true. Not very smart. But I think that she's getting a little too cocky now. You see, Gypsy is getting too cocky.
I don't even think it's cocky.
Actually, no, it's cocky. She's putting out there, she's literally...
I think she thought admitting this...
true.
I think she thought admitting this would be some accountability, but it's not because that man is sitting in prison for life.
Accountability. She hasn't yet to take accountability for anything.
In her head, this is some accountability. In her head.
Yeah, she can't even take accountability for her affair.
Oh, that wasn't an affair. She just decided she wasn't in love anymore. That's her theory.
Oh.
That's her theory.
Oh. We're going to play on words here. No, it was still an adulterous affair there, Jet. You have no respect for any human bond. Not mother-child, not husband-wife. You have no respect for human connections and bonds. That means you're sick. I'm sorry that you're psychologically ill. I'm sorry that you will never be normal. I'm sorry that you can't feel emotion and that you need attention and that your brain works the way it does. But you need to get help. You need to take accountability and responsibility because maybe then people will start to feel a little bit something for you. I'm just saying. There ain't nobody watching you because you're cute. Let's be real. We all see you. At the end of the day, you're still the chick in the sink. You know it. Ken knows it because that's why he doesn't want to touch butts with you, honey. Because he sees the girl in the sink. Just saying. Blonde hair, brown hair, long hair, short hair. You're never going to change. You're still you. And we all know who you is, Donna. Being a mother isn't going to change who you are. In fact, it causes more concern. I'm just saying.
I mean, hell, just the fact that the baby was trying to push herself away from her. Like, that was a prime example. Like, the craziest thing for you to do is do that. And I bet you when she posted that video of me, it was when Ken said that he would bring the baby or she would come, which is why she said she's going to prove me wrong. Girl, you think I was born at night? None of us was born last night. Like, how silly do you think we are?
And honestly, everybody just watched your live where you were having Christy take care of the baby because, well, you can't connect with anybody, not even your child, which is a serious cause for concern since you are an unaliver. I'm just saying.
The fact that she had the audacity to say that was 10 years ago while he's sitting in there for life. Like, I can't grab, I'm sorry. Like, that set me off. Like 10 years ago. Like,
You
10
were a toothless, gumming animal just 10 years ago. There is no such thing as just 10 years ago, especially not when you're facing life in prison. And to be quite honest, I'm actually disappointed that you didn't get the chair because I would have loved to watch that. Watch you squiggle around until your legs stop moving, squirming, crying. I would have loved to watch that. I'm just saying. Call me mean, call me a bully, call me whatever the F you want. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to be honest. I would love to watch it. I love when people get what they deserve.
Well, she's gonna get hers is coming because I'm not gonna let this go. And there's a whole slew of other creators that aren't gonna let this go. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I promise you're not gonna have another night of rest because the fact that we saw this Foia and we saw all that evidence against you and showed that you were the manipulator, you were the liar. You have the media thinking one thing, but there's proof in these court documents. And you know what? Let me ask you something, Gypsy. You said we all know this case was an effed up situation. I will never deny that. But haven't you heard that is so 10 years ago, people grow up and change? Well, why don't you tell the goddamn media that? Tell the media the truth then. Tell the media the truth. If you want me to shut up, you go tell the media the truth and the whole truth, not part truth, the entire truth. Hand over the Foia to the media so they can see that you lied. You unalived your mom for sausage. If you want this to stop, you hand everything over to the media and you tell the truth instead of sitting there and having 60 minutes talk about you were the sweetest person they ever met, but you are a felon that unalived their mom. No, tell the truth.
You know what's funny? She doesn't even have to give it over to mainstream media because I sent it to everybody. I put out 350 emails with it. They're going to get it. They're all going to see it. They're all going to see it. I don't think that you all realize how many people we have working behind the scenes for this.
There's a lot, a whole lot, and she doesn't realize it. I'm not saying, I'm not letting up.
People are sending emails. I can assure you that
we've been moving in silence. Believe that. Mm-hmm. Staying up hours at night to make sure that he gets justice. And believe, anytime I put this much time behind it, believe he will get justice. If you think that me talking about you for a year was about money, you have to be a fool. I am pretty, I am smart, and I can talk. My most viral videos have nothing to do with you. So if you really want to be real, it is definitely not about the money. I'm going to get the bag one way or another. Okay? Even though you thought you were taking from me. And you can lie all day to these people about saying you didn't get me fired from my job. But I and Bree know that's the truth. Okay? So you can sit up on here and say whatever you want. Bree admitted it on a live. Okay? So we all know. And despite of that, this is to show you how much I'm a favorite. Believe I'm always going to be good. I'm one of God's favorites, and I will say that every time because my bank account didn't know I got fired. My bank account had no clue. If that don't tell you I'm one of God's favorites, you can send someone to my door right now with a pew pew, and I guarantee you God will make sure I'm still here tomorrow to talk about it.
There you go. I understand Nina's anger. I really do. Like, I feel you, Nina. I really do.
Look how many hours we go through that stuff at night. Look how many hours that multiple creators and I are coming up with a game plan on how to get this out there. If it was about money, I wouldn't be doing that at night because I don't get paid for that.
Yep.
He will get justice by any means necessary as long as I'm carrying my integrity.
Yep. But I still think it's funny that she's out here acting reckless and a mess again, ready to land herself back in prison with a parole violation, all because of TikTok.
Yeah, she's all up in arms. But you're saying that was so 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 2 people lost their lives. But that was just 10 years ago, so we should disregard that.
Somebody being unalive doesn't matter anymore if it was 10 years ago? That just makes you look even more like a piece of shit, that statement. I unalived her, but that was 10 years ago. It's not a big deal. Like, it's always a big deal. Every day for the rest of your life, you should be telling people how it's a big deal because that's what grown adults do. They take accountability and responsibility and show remorse and regret and guilt and all of that. They don't make statements like, well, she's dead now. It was 10 years ago. Not a big deal. Dude, that was your mother. That was your mother. And you could sit there and say that that woman was a horrible woman, but your father wanted nothing to do with you. You yourself are posting videos with your baby girl talking about he got a second chance. He left you because he also did not love you. He left you and was never there for you. So he is just as bad, if not worse, than your mother was. So then maybe you should handle that situation the same way you did Dee Dee. I'm just saying.
Talking about it was 10 years ago.
Justified.
It was 10 years ago. The audacity is unreal. Like, why would she write a statement like that 10 years ago? Like somebody losing their life and somebody sitting in jail for prison, that if your story was true, they would be a hero, is 10 years ago. While you're out here terrorizing other people is insanity. I wow. 10
Although,
years.
you know what though, Nina, you should be really proud of yourself though, because she's scared of you. She knows you're on the right track. She knows you're not going to give up. She's scared as hell of you. I'm just saying.
Well, she need to continue, because I'm not letting this go. I invested too much time for him not to get some sort of justice. Too much time for him to not get some sort of justice. Because again, and I keep saying this, and I think a lot of people don't realize it, the situations like this, people don't take serious until it happens to a family member of theirs or a friend of theirs. And then people want people to take shit serious. But if we were to stop this at the head and stop letting the system get over like this, especially the fact that the system got over on a disabled man, do you know how hard it is to get disability, let alone permanent disability? And he was getting permanent disability for over 7 years. Do you understand how hard that is to get? For him to get that, that should tell you how bad it was.
And listen to these court documents about how unfair the whole trial really was. They literally let her lie and perjure herself right in front of their face with evidence contrary to what she says. They literally allowed her to lie. Dan Patterson did, that judge did. Now, I'm going to say that. I'm not going to say alleged. I'm not going to say anything, because that is 100% fact. That is a fact, that they allowed her to get up there and perjure herself. They needed her to perjure herself to justify the plea deal that she got because she was an abuse victim. But nobody wanted to talk about the fact that Nick was one too. In fact, he was probably abused even worse and longer ago, because you weren't really abused, Gypsy. We know that. But he actually was an abuse victim. He actually did go through a lifetime on top of dealing with his autism and everything else he had going on. And you took him at a point in his life where he couldn't take any more, and you manipulated him into taking another's life. Yep. You should be really proud of yourself. You're going to make a great influencer one day.
Talking about, I wrote this book for my daughter. Why don't you just tell the whole world the truth? Because you take zero accountability, zero, none. And I've said from day one, and you have said it yourself, even in those messages you had to me, you said that all I wanted was for you to hold yourself accountable. But yet a whole year later, you still have no remorse. You are villainizing a man that should have been a hero in your book if your story was true. That's how we know you're a liar. And even just the fact that this Foia has shown more evidence that you even lied to your mom. The one that you unalived when she was very sick. What everybody fails to tell in the media and everything else was your mom was very sickly. You were stealing her medication, which is why she put a lock on that door. And you still are out here saying that was 10 years ago. Like, we're supposed to just dismiss that. Like, you really sat there on your phone, wrote this out, and said, yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, it's 10 years ago. I don't care who else was affected by it. I don't care about 10 years. I know I've been lying for the last 10 years since it happened, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to put this statement up here because, yeah, it sounds like I'm taking accountability.
They are, Blue. They are laughing at her when they watch. Nobody watched her live today because she was interested.
No, people were telling her to hold the baby's leg and everything else. Like, they know she don't know what she's doing, and she don't care for that baby. Everybody knows that. Like, she's a danger. She's a danger. She's a danger to herself and every damn body else. And the fact that anybody could sleep with their eyes closed around her, then that show you that they got some issues too.
No. No.
And let's talk about her bestie, Bree, that will sit there and defend a unaliver, defend some child predator, defend a liar, a thief, a manipulator. Everything that's bad, you are. And you will not have a night of rest until he gets justice. And I mean that with every ounce in my body.
Mm-hmm.
You sat there on that 60-minute interview and lied, and you wanted those people to think you were the sweetest person. The sweetest person, I can guarantee you, didn't unalive their mom. Come on, make it make sense. That lady was just as dumb as she was.
She could be all kinds of sweet and smiley and giggly, and you, at the end of the day, you're still a murderer, man. Okay, you're the sweetest murderer.
Well, they're saying he's the tallest short man. Which one is it? Is he
Right.
tall or is he short?
Exactly. She was the nicest murderer I've ever met.
Like, that's nuts. Like, that's really nuts. When you really let that sink in, you're like, is that lady okay?
Yeah. Like you're sitting there talking to someone who took your mother's life, calling her sweet.
Like, yeah, that's the nicest man that ever burglarized my house.
Right?
Like, what?
I mean, yeah. He was the nicest rapist. Come on.
I just can't believe this comment. I'm
She,
sorry. Like, this comment really, it just,
it
I
got,
just can't.
yeah, I find it funny because that's confirmation that I know what I'm doing is getting to her. So I find it funny that if it weren't true or none of this was bothering you, well, you wouldn't waste the 5 seconds it took you to write that. Because you see, real famous people, Gypsy, real celebrities don't do that.
And you think you're going to bully me? You thought you were going to post that and bully me? I don't care who's in my comment section talking smack to me. I don't care about none of that. None of that.
Yeah, I know, seriously. And I can't. I mean, the chick is like 4'1". Like, come on.
Literally, I fall asleep while on lives when everybody's messaging me, Nina, they're talking smack about you. Like, I dead ass fell asleep on the screen. That's how unbothered and how much I don't care. Honestly, if she was smart, what she should have never did was message me last year.
Well, there's that.
Because that was the moment where I really realized how manipulative she was. That was really the moment. Because I was like, this girl is really trying to convince me she's a good person in this messenger. That's wild.
So do me a favor, what was that message about? Go through that, because there's some people that don't even know about it.
The phone, Gio has my iPad and I'm on this phone. But basically the message was, she was basically telling me that her and Ryan had the perfect relationship and that I was wrong, that they weren't having relationship issues. And
Wait.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. She said that I was wrong. Their relationship was perfect.
Sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah. And that Ryan was sick and she wasn't pregnant. Now, I never said she was pregnant for sure. I said somebody said she was at the hospital and overheard Gypsy say she was pregnant. But you know what? Part of me believes that may be true now. Do y'all remember that? I didn't really think about that, but maybe part of that makes me think that maybe that was true.
Mm-hmm. That's wild. Oh, hold up.
And it was probably because she had been seeing Ken all that time. Because she was saying in that message that she was not pregnant.
She made it a point to say she wasn't pregnant?
Yes, in the message.
When was that?
March 13th last year.
Oh.
Literally, it's a couple of days ago.
Yeah. That's wild.
And I remember it because I was getting ready. I was doing my makeup for work and I got a message on Facebook and it said Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And at first I was like, this can't be real. And then I looked and saw that it had the check mark. And I was thinking to myself, well, what the hell would she want to do with me? But keep in mind, I had been on a live earlier. The day before. Gypsy came into the live and was sitting in the live with her real account. Okay.
In your life?
Yes. And everybody in the comment section was like, Gypsy's in here. I said, Gypsy's not in here. Why do y'all keep saying that? They was like, nah, she's in there. Then one of my followers sent me a screenshot that she was in there. So I looked and it was sure enough her, like account, everything, right? And the comment section, I still have it. The comment section said, Gypsy, you could talk. We don't bite. Like everybody in the comment section was saying, Marissa, you were there. Okay, so she's someone that's been following me through that time. Marissa was in that live and everybody was saying, Gypsy, you could talk. We don't bite. And she still didn't say anything. So she sat in that live for a little bit longer, didn't say nothing. Okay, nothing at all. And so I was like, dang, that's kind of weird. Like, why would she come into my live and not say anything? Like, why? Like, what was she doing? Right? Literally, was it the next day or the day after she sent me a message? And that was when I realized that her and Ken were talking to each other, because they started following each other both on social media. Now, Ken had commented on one of my posts early January, like January 8th or something, right? And in that comment, I thought it was a fake Ken page, because he didn't, like, it looked like a burner, but like he had some followers, maybe like 200 or something like that. But it seemed like a fake page, right? So I said, if you were the real Ken, prove it, right? He didn't prove it. So I thought it was the fake one. But when right before she came in my live, like a day before, that's when I saw that fake Ken page. And the only reason why I knew that was the page is because I messaged him. It was like, hey, if you're really him, prove it, right? I saw that page and her page were following each other. So when I went to the message, I went to that page from the message and saw that he was following her and she was following him, right? And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think, like what I told you guys, January 8th, she was going to leave her husband and go back with her ex. Here it is. They're following each other now. I think it's starting to happen right now. And that's when she messaged me. She was trying to distract me from putting that narrative out that they were together, even though she was still with Ryan at the time.
Wow. That's a mess.
I'm telling you, January 8th, I said, I think she will leave her husband and get back with her ex. Yep. I said that in a video. Like, if you look back to January 8th of last year, there's a whole video with me actually saying that this would happen. And then this time, last year, I said, once Raina came on the live, I said, I guarantee you, Gypsy is going to get pregnant by Ken, have that baby, and ruin Raina's life. And she's going to be stuck taking care of somebody else's baby. So when she says that I've been wrong and I've been telling lies, she a liar. And she know it. I've been clocking her tea ever since she came on this app. And that's why she comes so hard for me, because I've been clocking her tea.
That's it.
And now she's going to come on this app and say that it's been 10 years.
Yeah. Like 10 years. Her life was still taken, regardless if it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We took her out of this world before she should have been. And it's so sad. That's how little life means to her, though.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Like, it's been 10 years, let it go. Just shows how much that didn't matter to her. How much she don't care.
Could you imagine birthing a monster like that?
I can't imagine. No, I can't imagine my child wanting to take me out of this world. And I'm looking at my kid. They're literally unaliving me. That's wild. Like,
and I think she knew it was coming.
She knew that she was sick. She knew.
And she knew Gypsy was going to harm her, because why would she say, Gypsy, don't hurt me?
He pulled a baby knife on her already. She knew that it was a possibility. She really believed that that was coming. And I really believe she was trying to not only protect Gypsy because of her issue with men, she was trying to protect the public as well. Edie knew exactly who her daughter was. We all know her children. We know them better than anybody. And she knew who her daughter was. So, yeah.
This is just a sad situation. And for her to say this was 10 years ago, like, I don't know, that comment right there is triggering as hell to me.
Yeah.
Because it just shows how much she like 10 years ago. Yeah, then you tell the truth. Tell the media the truth. Let the media tell the truth. If it was just 10 years ago and people make mistakes, if that was the case, you sitting on these interviews and constantly lying, how is that people make mistakes? When people make mistakes, they admit to them. They come clean.
Yep. Yeah. If they really are sorry, if they really are trying to show that, hey, look, this is what I want to change. You can't change anybody who's been to AA as an alcoholic or NA or whatever other A programs there are out there. You all know that you have to accept responsibility for what you did, or you can't change. You can't change in the same headspace that you've always been in. And she is still in that headspace. I'm just saying.
Hold on, they flagged one of my videos. I have to dispute it.
I hear the someone's I gave them
Why is it saying appeal unavailable?
They did that to mine too. They did, when I tell you, they hit my account as well last night. But on that note, it's after midnight here, so I'm going to get going. Because yeah, I want to kind of go through this.
Well, good thing I'll put this on my YouTube. Y'all can see what she does with
yeah, I'll put it on mine as well. And then yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, guys. Same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. But I appreciate everyone. Thank you guys for all of the gifts. Thank you guys for the interaction in the chat. Thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate you. Yeah, we'll take what happened.
But they didn't take the video down.
They didn't, right?
Why would they give me a strike if they didn't take it down?
I don't know.
This doesn't make any sense. No, they did not take the video down.
That's wild.
Let me see something.
Well, I'm going to get going. I need to go.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
We'll see you
8 o'clock.
tomorrow night.